Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is the April 2025 MSMF Wealth Management Podcast. I had a little bit of problem with that a minute ago, but now I know what month it is. It's April, and the Blues got in the playoffs last night, so we're happy. And hopefully by the time you see this and our friends at Compliance approve it, they'll still be in the playoffs. So I'm joined today by my man Cody. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great.
And Jay, you're back in the hot seat. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Super. Hey, we're going to cover a couple things today. First, we're going to cover probably the most topical item. We're going to do a little bit of revisiting to the podcast from last month and give a little update on tariffs and the economy and the market, just to kind of walk through with everyone how to approach this. And thanks for reminding me that April is Financial Literacy Month. We're going to have a very robust conversation about financial literacy, what it means to all of you, what it means to your siblings, your relatives, your children, your grandchildren, and we're going to dive deep into that. But first, Cody, let's start off with tariffs, the economy, and the market, and what happens next.
Boy, I get the fun one.
Yeah, you do, brother.
Yeah, so what we've seen so far, let's see, we actually hit a market high this year, in case people didn't realize that. But that gets oversight with, all the choppiness that we've seen. So basically, we're in some volatility right now. And
Which we kind of predicted last month.
Right? Yeah, we expected it. There's just, anytime you have an unknown and uncertainty in the picture, the market tries, it overreacts in both ways, right? And I think we certainly saw that about a week and a half ago with, the rather rapid movement downward in the market, but then it, things didn't seem as bad as maybe people had thought, and now we're kind of leveled out a little bit.
Kind of shot up that one day like one of Elon's rockets.
Yeah, it was actually I think for the NASDAQ, the second best day ever.
Yeah, pretty amazing.
So, yeah, we've seen some records being set. And I think probably, we still don't have certain things on the table, so we're going to see a little bit more volatility.
Right.
Yeah. But volatility goes in both ways, right? Up and down.
Absolutely.
So, but it's not like it's been extra crazy out of the ordinary. I mean, during any given year, you go back the last, I think it's like 45 years or so, from, J.P. Morgan puts this great thing called Guide to the Markets out. The S&P 500 has a intra-year decline from the very top to the bottom of a little bit over 14% in any given year.
So I have a degree in engineering, so intra-year means within the year, right?
Within the year.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So, while it feels the intraday swings,
that's a fact,
is what is, I think, causing people to get a little bit uneasy about it, right? So you can have a day that starts down 5% and ends up 5%. That's not, I would say that's certainly not normal.
Right.
Yeah. And the tariffs, I think as long as, those are on the table and there's not maybe some more clarity with, timelines of things, again, we're going to see volatility still in the picture. And I think the big one is, if something comes out of agreement and talks with China, I think that will be very helpful to this whole situation.
Mm-hmm. No question. Jay, thoughts on that?
Yeah, Cody, would you also say that part of the volatility in the last couple of weeks is also kind of magnified because it's been so calm the last couple of years?
Yeah, I mean, people, they kind of got used to, the market putting in new highs. Like, I think, what was it last year? Every 1 out of 5 trading days almost, or 20% of the time, the market.
57 market highs last year.
Yeah, it was putting in a new market high. So, and people always experience the loss more than the gain. I do.
Yeah. Fear of loss is much greater than the looking forward to a gain. So,
right. Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I think we're just going to be in this time of volatility, but, that's why we have strategies put in place. That's why we're not all in the U.S. market, all in large cap. We got small cap. We have international. And some of those areas in the market actually have positive returns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so
no question.
It just shows you how that power of diversification really does help.
Mm-hmm. So what should our clients do?
Keep the strategy they got in place. Mm-hmm. And if you have any short-term needs that are popping up that you haven't really accounted for, then now's the time to have the conversation and maybe start setting that aside because, we don't know what the rest of the year looks like.
Right.
I'm optimistic, but yeah.
Yeah, I think the one thing I'd add to that is, the financial behavioral term of recency bias, right?
Yeah.
The last couple of years have been great. We've already forgot about 2022, which was an unmitigated disaster
Right.
on both the stock and bond side. And we're having a little bit of volatility this year because of the shaking out of the tariffs. It was far worse in 2022.
Right.
I mean, I know we condition our clients, we don't get a lot of phone calls, but you are having more conversations in 2022 than you are in 2025.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I just wanted to bring about a reminder that because it was been so kind of calm the last couple of years, it's easy to forget that, no, this is a little bit more normal. Maybe not all in one day, but
Right.
maybe spread out over a week. Being down 14% every year is what you said on average. That's normal. That's
Right.
what we're supposed to have. It's just been really kind of compressed.
Right.
So I call this the admission price of investing.
Right.
If we could only invest it and it only goes up, that'd be awesome. But unfortunately, sometimes it goes down, and that's kind of where we're at right now. I think long term, I'm optimistic. I don't know about you guys,
Oh, absolutely.
but
Yeah.
short term, hey, we've got some downs right now. And that's
Right.
okay.
Right. Yeah. Again, the strategy that you guys talk about when you talk about the diversified portfolios, whatever that mix is, but the multiple asset classes, types of stocks and bonds, that mutes the effect significantly of volatility in the stock market, particularly the U.S. stock market,
Oh,
which
huge.
is where everyone's bias is towards our home country. So, again, keep the strategy. Please call us. We can talk about it, but we knew this was coming. We know it's going to continue for a little while, but it'll be okay. Take a deep breath. Don't get online every day and look at your account values. Call us. Right? Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit, and let's talk about this April month of financial literacy. Jay, and I know you're very passionate about this. I want to give a couple of a little bit of history and some statistics on this, which then I want to kind of wind you up and get you going on this, because this impacts every generation of our clients. Our clients have just now come out of college and are starting their financial lives in earnest. Our clients are in the middle of their lives with maybe young or teenage kids who are saving for retirement, and our retired clients. But in terms of a little bit of history, how did we get to Financial Literacy Month? It started way back when, if I can find my notes here. Here it is. Way back when in the year 2000 as Youth Financial Literacy Day. And it's graduated from there. Congress has gotten involved. They've passed certain things over the years to focus on financial literacy in April, and now you officially have the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, which is heavily involved in banks. They proudly announce each year that April is Financial Literacy Month. The youth piece was taken over because it's necessary for everybody, right? And to support that, our good friends at financialpoise.com provided us with some rather staggering statistics. And then I'll turn this over to you, Jay, because this will lead right into what everyone needs to know. Over 40% of adults cannot pass a basic financial literacy test. That is scary to me. 27% of Americans do not think they need a budget. I don't know how much you're saving if you don't have a budget, but that one's, scary to me as well. This article says we're very terrible at fostering financial literacy, which is true. In Missouri is only one of 26 states that requires some type of financial planning or education course in high school. And we just so happen to be having one of our high school interns today talk about that course, and it just sounds woeful. But at least Missouri mandates it, and there's only 26 states. Of the kind of topical, of the entire federal education budget, which I'm not sure what it's going to be going forward, but up till this year, only 1% or 1.6% of the budget was spent toward financial literacy programs, it should be 10 times that much. Lastly, 1 out of 3 Americans believe they will never retire due to lack of savings and knowledge. 44%, that's double fours, do not have enough in the bank to cover an emergency expense of $1,000 or more. And this one is kind of staggering. Americans lost more than $240 billion in 2024 because of poor financial literacy. So, Jay, these numbers made me step back. I knew they were bad. These are far worse than I thought. And like I said, all generations of our clients can learn something from this. How do you organize it with your clients? What are the kind of the key points that you want to make sure all generations of your clients are dialed into?
Yeah. So for my clients, I try and make kind of a hierarchy of do this, and that's level 1, and then you should be focusing on this. And so using that theme, I kind of wanted to do like top 10 advice of things to be thinking about. So again, this really can be applied to anybody, but you might have ones that you have a really good grasp on, and meanwhile others you're like, okay, maybe I should really focus on that, in the spirit of Financial Literacy Month. So the number 1, you already said it, 27% of Americans don't even have a budget. So I wanted to start there. Now, a lot of people think of a budget as kind of like a diet, in which case, if you think of it that way, and I'm kind of one of those too, I get it, but you need to know to me, a budget is just knowing where your money's going. It's not necessarily need to be restricting or anything like that, but it's knowing where your money's going and having a plan for it. Are you investing? Are you putting something towards the future? Are you saving for some of the other things there? So what do you guys think about that? Number 1, have a budget. Know what your budget is.
Yeah,
I'm in on that.
You got to start from there.
I mean, you got to know where your money's going, because if you want to redirect it to go someplace else, you got to know where it's going in the first place.
Sure.
So whether you want to save more, or you want to do the family vacation, or the transmission falls out of the car and you're going to have to spend some money over here as opposed to over there, well, where is over there?
And then the number 1 question I ask someone if they are talking about retirement, well, how much do you spend? You know what I mean? Because a lot of times someone will just kind of, the first conversation with me, hey, I've got X amount saved. They always want to start there. I saved this much money. Can I retire? I'm like, I have no idea.
No idea.
No idea. Because then my first question back to you is, well, how much do you spend?
Right.
Because if you spend $1,000 a month, sure, maybe. If it's $10,000 a month, maybe not. So just different answers. All right. Number 2, after that, if you know where your money's going, do you have an emergency fund, right? You just said 44% of Americans can't even cover $1,000
Emergency expense.
of an emergency expense. Now, most of our emergency funds probably needs to be more than $1,000.
Sure.
But at least that's a place to start, and that's why we kind of want to do this. Where's your money going, and do you have a backstop, right?
Perfect.
Number 3, what we call this, the eighth
The 8th wonder of the world.
Eighth wonder of the world.
Yeah.
compounding, and understanding that savings and just keeping it in the mattress is different than savings and putting it and investing it in something that's going to grow compound. So it's amazing how many people we talk to. By the way, our clients already do most of these. I just want to put that out there. So far, I'm probably just fairly basic review.
Sure.
But understanding that, hey, putting this into something that's going to get interest or dividends or some kind of compound growth, so powerful, and just understanding that.
Right.
So, all right, number 4 would be debt management. I go through an exercise with my clients of identifying, well, what debt do we have? Is it super high interest? Is it unsecured versus secured, meaning that, is it just you're signing your name and you get money? Obviously, those are going to be a little higher interest, mm-hmm. right? So, but just going through understanding what do we have with that, and then what's the plan for it.
Right.
When we talked about financial literacy, I was super impressed with our intern because he said he specifically chose where he's going to school because of a scholarship he's getting, because he doesn't want a lot of student loan debt on the back end. So that's super awesome. Those are the types of conversations we want to have and spread the word, right? Cool. Number 5, your stat, 1 1/3 Americans don't know how they're going to retire.
Right.
Part of financial literacy is understanding and saving early and consistently into some sort of retirement account. So if you're employed and have like a 401k, it's a good place to start. But what if you're not? What's your plan? Do you have some sort of pension, or is Social Security the plan? For some people it might be, but just having a plan and talking about it, super important.
Yeah, I think making sure that even if you think it's not enough to even make a difference down the road, what goes back to the previous 2 ones you said, the power of compounding. Saving a couple grand a year can certainly add up over time, especially when you get that growth going on it. It's pretty amazing what that can turn into. So, I would just say just start.
Just start.
It doesn't matter what the number is. It will grow over time.
Yeah, and the one thing I would add to that, particularly you mentioned Social Security, that impacts every one of our clients regardless of the generation, right? There is a lot of misinformation running around about the Social Security system today, right? People that are either already retired or about to retire, it's very highly unlikely that their benefits are going to be impacted. It's probably more, to be fair, your generation, Craig's generation, we've already gone through pushing back when we hit full retirement age. I think it's probably going to get pushed back again. There's just way too many people funneling the system. So if people are depending on Social Security to be their primary source of retirement income, we would urge them to rethink that and find an add-on strategy to go with that.
All right, something that maybe you control a little more too.
Correct.
Yeah, I think especially for the younger generation, also understanding when Social Security was put in place, there was a lot more people entering into the workforce than what we have now. So we have the baby boomer generation all retiring, and you don't have nearly enough of those people entering into the workforce to kind of replace that. So that will at some point have an effect. Like you said, how do you handle that? Well, you put more in Social Security bucket and probably push back, full retirement age at some point.
Correct.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Speaking of retirement and planning for that, just the importance of investing. And I kind of mentioned it with the power of compounding, but also, that's usually interest. Now I'm really talking about investing and putting things into the market and all of our conversation up until now, right? The importance of that is paramount because if I talk about someone with a broke mentality versus a rich mentality, let's break that down. Usually someone with a broke mentality, they first get money and they spend it on bills. And then, there's a couple other things I wanted to buy, so they go buy those things. And if there's anything left over, I'm going to save it. No even mention of investing, right?
Yeah,
someone
all
with
cash.
Someone with more of a rich mentality, they're going to take the first portion of it and say, I'm going to set this aside. I'm going to invest this, maybe for retirement, maybe something else, but I'm going to invest. I'm going to save a little bit towards this other goal. And then if there's anything left, maybe I'll spend that. And that different mentality is really a big differentiator among people. And so that's why I wanted to put that out there, thinking about how can I be investing more? What does that look like for me?
Yep. Save first, spend second.
Another one would be the importance of insurance. Just keeping it short, it really should be protecting from catastrophes. You know what I mean? That's why we have car insurance, in case the worst happens, right? And that same approach should be for all different insurance.
Yeah, I mean, it really doesn't matter what situation you're in. It's just leverage of dollars for a lot of it. So, I think it's an important piece of the pie that people need to have and people need to plan for.
Yeah, and I would say, in general, just because historically the way insurance has been sold, people can be resistant to it. It's like going to the proctologist or something, right? But there is a proper place for it. To your point, it really is trying to prevent from falling in the proverbial financial pothole and upsetting the entire plan. Mm-hmm. And again, it applies to our youngest clients all the way up to our retired clients. Those potholes are different, but there's still historically a cost-effective insurance program out there to protect against those potholes.
And you mentioned somebody very famously has...
Oh, yeah, Warren Buffett. That guy doesn't need any help from insurance, but he has long-term care.
Right.
Because he says, well, why wouldn't I? It's a leverage on my premium that I pay in.
Right.
So, yeah.
Transfer risk. It's a smart financial decision,
right.
Period.
Yep. Okay, and the next one is around credit scores and just understanding the consequences of different choices that we make, right? And just understanding that if I do this, it's going to increase my credit score. If I do that, it's maybe going to make it to go down. And sometimes there's a strategy, behind each decision that you're doing. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. But just knowing that there are rules out there, and what do we do with them?
Right. Yeah, and I would say real quick, and then Cody, I want you to weigh in on this, but even as simple as paying credit cards off. If you can pay them off every month, that would be preferable. But if you're making some big purchases and you're going to plan on paying it off over 2 or 3 months, instead of relying on yourself, making sure you're there at the right time to make that payment at least set up auto minimum payments because all that feeds into the ultimate credit score. So if you miss a payment and you've been pretty good, you're going to pay off the refrigerator purchase or the air conditioning rehab or whatever, but you miss a month, that hurts your credit score, and it takes you 6 or 8 months to catch up from that.
Yeah, I mean, missing pay. It's all about what has your history been with being able to make cash flow payments on a monthly basis or whatever it's set up as. So it's super important. And there's so many places you can get your credit scores from. I mean, my bank login has one. All my credit cards have
for
one.
free. They tell you, right?
Credit Karma. I have that set up because I just like the layout of it. I think it's a little bit more intuitive. But there's do your research out there, but you should have a pretty good idea of what your credit score is.
Right. It's the holy grail of financial numbers.
Yep. And, as someone going through a refinance right now as we speak, that is important to know what my credit score was and the timing of it.
No question.
All right. And the next one is really around tax awareness. And this is timely because we just crossed the tax deadline yesterday. But
y'all send your checks to your friends at the IRS?
Fewer friends. But understanding somewhat how it goes. And this affects literally everybody.
Everybody.
Because maybe it's time to look into your withholdings if you had to write a bigger check or you got less of a refund than you're expecting.
Right.
Maybe you're self-employed and you're trying to figure out, hey, I wish there was a way to lower my self-employment taxes, for example. Like, there's just so many little nuances. I'm having a conversation with my mother-in-law around, hey, I'm trying to make an IRA contribution. What should that have looked like on my tax return? Like, just all these different conversations, at least knowing top level, what's the difference between a traditional IRA and a Roth IRA?
Sure.
All these different things.
And if you have access to an HSA, use it.
Right. And if you don't know what any of this stuff is, call us.
Yeah.
And the one thing I will say is everyone knows this because we tell you all the time, we're not CPAs, we're not enrolled agents. However, we are all 3 certified financial planners, and in order to get that designation, I would like to say we minored in taxation. So we know our way around a tax return. We don't prepare returns. That's for your CPA or your enrolled agent, and there's a lot of things we can coach you to ask them about. If you do it yourself, like I said, we know our way around a tax return, and if it's investment related, savings account related, retirement account related, we can kind of help you figure some of that out, or HSA contribution related, that type of thing.
Yeah. And the last one I wrote, again, this is to try and catch all levels of financial literacy, is to keep learning. Because even though you might have known, and this applies to us too, by the way, even if you would have known the tax code, it's supposed to end at the end of this year, for example. Or if you know the estate planning rule or whatever insurance coverage, like this stuff all changes all the time. And so just keeping up to date on it and understanding when some big tax change or any legislation changes, you know what I mean? Just understanding that you're still going to dig into it and how does that affect me?
I agree, 100%. Thoughts? Last word, Cody?
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. Yeah, I'll go back to that one stat you had. 44% of people can't cover $1,000 expense. That's
scary.
That's a little scary. And it goes back to the number one thing is budgeting. Mm-hmm. Once you have that set up, I'm pretty certain you could, over some time, at least save up $1,000.
Yep.
Yeah.
Jay, what's the cherry on top?
To me, those stats say that our work is not done. It's just getting started. And so that's why I love putting these things together and talking about them. And again, our clients probably can do most of these.
Right.
And so if there's someone who in your life who doesn't or isn't confident in these things, we'd be happy to help them. So
yeah. Anyway, I guess what I would to add on to what you guys said, we have some work to do in our educational system too. Yeah. We have a lot of teacher clients, and they're unhappy with financial literacy in schools. I mean, we're fortunate we're in a state where it has to be taught, but we're hearing from students who've taken it now that it's just not at all should be, right? And another stat I'll throw out is that 48% of Gen Zers indicate that they get their financial education and support from their parents in order to make decisions, but half of parents grade their understanding of finance at a C or lower. Okay. Now, I would agree with you. The vast majority of our clients certainly would probably grade out give themselves at least a B, some of them an A. And to those folks, I would say, listen, you have to pass that education on because the school system's not doing it for you. Whether it's your children or your grandchildren or even your siblings, sometimes your own parents, pass it on. Pass on this podcast. Tell them to give us a call. Share the text line with them. Shoot us an email because we all collectively got a lot of work to do. These are not happy statistics. And bad financial decision followed by bad financial decision can lead to financial ruin, and we want to avoid that in every possible case. All right? So, again, it's not all Debbie Downer, but you pass it on. You have good financial literacy. You give yourself a B or higher. Please pass it on. You feel like some of the stuff we talked about you're concerned with, give us a call. We're happy to go through it with you. Happy to go through it with your kids, your grandkids, get them on that right path. So thank you, gentlemen. Good to see you back in the seat. Craig did a great job, but you always do a great job too. So hopefully when you see this, the Blues are still in the playoffs, and who knows, when we do the May, they could still be in the playoffs as well.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Let's go Blues, and thanks for listening.